Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, and I thought I'd try again with my video strategy. Although I'm going to admit to a little disappointment here. Last week we did try this, providing some information not only about where the week was going, where the course was going, perhaps an opportunity to have a special session, some instructions, etc. And frankly, it has taken until today for 3 people to watch the video. Um, I don't know what this says. Maybe I'm just a bad video artist. Maybe we have a real short attention span. But I think I let everybody know in the beginning of the course that I do use the video mode in many ways for our advantage, to communicate information about the course, to provide new material, to provide instructions, and I really need folks to take a few minutes. If you cannot take 10 minutes to look at what is essentially a course resource, this is somewhat disturbing to me, and it ought to be disturbing to you. And frankly, you can tell when we look at the quality of work that does get submitted. A lot of it's thin right now, and it's only going to get more and more technical and more complex as the course goes on. Next week, we are going to be in week 5, where you're going to be asked to do a fairly complex paper, and it gets introduced this week. And I hope you take advantage of learning everything you can about it and looking at what constitutes a good job. Let's remember, it's a 400 level course. We're not about participation trophies here. We're about doing it well and preparing you for what that job market in sport management, and sport finance, etc., brings to you. It's not being a sports fan, it's being a sports professional. And the ability to not only absorb information, but to go out and find more, and to be curious about it, and to be conversant about things is very important. How many times have I said it? It is not about what you think you know, it's about what you know, it's about what you have learned. And this is where we're at right now. So I'm a little disappointed I had to start off with this somewhat rant, but it's important. Okay, look, we're going to go now into week 4. It's going to take us into the halfway point in the course. And in week 4, it's one of my favorite topics in this area. And we talk about competitive balance. What does it mean? What does it mean in terms of operating the business and the industry of sport? This is one where it's very easy to fall back into the habits of being the sports fan and think about, your favorite team and what does it take for them to win, and how do we look at all that kind of stuff. It's great. We could put a little bit of the sports fan emphasis into it, but not a ton this week. What you've still got to do is look at it from a very, very big picture point of view. And the questions for the week basically are: is competitive balance important for the health of a sport? And by competitive balance, we mean on the field, on the court. What is it going to take to keep fans engaged, to keep players motivated, to keep everything going in the right way, right? To make our businesses successful. We're worried now as much about anything else as about the product. But we also need to know, how do we do that? What are the economic advantages and disadvantages? How does it all work? And that's what Unit 4 is all about. So I urge you to really familiarize yourself with what you see in the material there. And then I'm going to urge you to make a little addition. And I will provide the link as soon as I'm done here. There is a very major development in college sports right now. And I mentioned it last week. This was with the movement of the University of Southern California and UCLA, University of California at Los Angeles. Those 2 schools are proposing to switch conferences from the Pac-12, Pacific 12, to the Big Ten. A very significant business, economic oriented move. Familiarize yourself with that, because as you see in our material this week, there is a video with Alabama coach Nick Saban talking about competitive balance in college sports, and it's dated 5 years ago. I am going to add a link to an article from ESPN this week talking to Nick Saban about competitive balance in college sports right now in 2022. And I want you to compare the two and to think about it. Think about what this means. College sport is one of the most misunderstood areas in the whole field of sport management. The misconceptions about it are driven right from the sports page to the sports fans' ears. And so many people think that they know more than they do. So many people think that college sports does nothing but make money hand over fist. That college sport is the Power Five, and that's about it. Well, what about take those 65 schools that make up the Power Five conferences right now, what we call the Power Five, right? The ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the Big 12, right? Well, the NCAA is over 1,000 schools. 1,000. Think about that. So 95% of the schools out there don't have anything to do with the Power Five. Maybe if you're an FCS, you might occasionally get a game against them, a guarantee game. And I trust you know what that means. But that's not college sports. That's not what it's all about. And many, many institutions use, and I mean that word strictly, use college sports quite differently than what the Alabamas, USCs, and the UCLAs of the world do. And we're going to be working our way into that in the next week, week and a half. It's going to be taking quite a bit of the time. It's something that I have developed not only an interest in, but some expertise in, having written fairly extensively about it, studied it. My doctoral dissertation is all about it. Having coached in a Division II environment for a long time. So it's a very different feel, and I hope we come out here and do what I call myth busting, and we'll see that things actually are quite a bit different than the popular conceptions. So for this week, I really want people to concentrate on this question of competitive balance and all that it means. How does it affect the operation of the sports that you know? How does it affect on other sports, and how does it affect the marketplace? How do you think it affects operations? How do you think it affects the business models? This is really important stuff. And, we're going to look at questions, like I said, sometimes the hat will come on. A question will come in. Are dynasties good for a sport? Are they bad? Okay. What about size of markets? What about exposure? What other uses do those things have? And then you're going to see when we talk a little bit in the future, and we've already touched on a little bit, what's the value of a team to a community or something like that? How do these things fit together? These are all, again, big picture issues. In fact, the challenge I'm going to throw in front of you this week is I'd like you to be able to get through the discussion question and maybe some slight additions and changes that I'll make to it in the next few hours. See if you can do this without mentioning a single player's name. That's a challenge for you. Get through it without naming a single player. Take the fan hat off and act like an analyst. Okay, guys, I've spent another 9.5 minutes. Hopefully people have had the patience to watch. Thank you for listening to my little lecture and rant about the value of this. Hopefully this introduction and this move forward into the new week will show us where we need to be going and need to be thinking. It may explain some of the things, the commentary that I've put in grading. So a lot to be said here. And I really enjoy this course. I hope you do too. But just remember, this is serious stuff. You can't get by on it with just a half hour a week or 45 minutes a week of devoting yourself to this course. If you're going to take advantage of it, you got to be a serious student. Okay, thanks very much.